Hello, and welcome into another edition of Through a Therapist's Eyes, where we invite you to see the world through the lens of a mental health and substance abuse therapist. He is Craig Graves right over there. I am Chris Gazdick. We have the goal of creating emotional growth. So this is feedback and discussion look for on throughatherapist'seyes.com. And understand this is not the delivery of therapy services in any way. Lastly, as you know, this is the human emotional experience. Mr. Graves, let's figure this thing out together, man.
Let's do it, bro.
So, sponsoring agency is Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates, 704-461-8253. They are located in Mount Holly, North Carolina. Tell you what, I forgot to do, Mr. Graves, last session, is make a highlight, man. I'm kind of proud and happy about this little book writing project. I'm going to make a note on Through a Therapist's Eyes. You can be emotional and remain safe. This is book 1, The Self. Dude, that's going to be like available on bookstores and whatever, Amazon and audio and whatever around the country here soon, man.
That's pretty cool, dude. I'm happy for you, man.
You know why I know
that?
Great
news. Why do you know that?
Because I have contracted with Morgan James Publishing. I can now say that officially. And it's kind of cool because they do all the distribution, and the publishers, man, they make this thing work a lot better than I probably would. Right? Book sales. We got to get that up on the website. Check it out. Stay tuned. It's not available yet, but I want to get the listening audience pumped up, excited, because it's a cool writing project, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you, dude.
So, let me see, dude. So, what are we doing tonight? We need to do a good personal fun fact. We hadn't done very good at that in a little while.
Well, I think that was a good one you just did.
But we should. Well, that's true. That's true. We should highlight your coaching though too. How's that coming along? Certified, unbeatable mind, life coach. Huh?
Yeah, I submitted the licensing agreement today, which will give me some access to some cool features. And so I'm working on getting it off the ground, man. I guess look for more information on that too in the weeks ahead.
But, your hosts have some stuff going on, man.
I'm excited, man. It's cool. It's a fun thing, yeah.
I return that congratulations to you, Mr. Graves. That's really cool what you're doing, Craig. Really.
I appreciate it, man.
I told you before, I think that you've been doing this show, and that gives you a head up in the fact that there are many life coaches out there, but there are not many that know as much, really, about some of the stuff with mental health, because you've been talking about this stuff, man.
Yeah, I've learned a lot on the show. This is our 78th episode or something like that. And so, yeah, it's been a lot. It's been good.
And we're going to learn about mental breakdowns. That's an evil laugh, isn't it?
That is an evil laugh.
I want to break it down.
Nervous breakdown.
Nervous breakdown.
I think I might have a nervous breakdown. I heard that term a lot. I never really thought about what that means. What is a nervous breakdown?
We're going to go all into it.
If I take nerve pills, will it help me with my nervous breakdown?
Probably, man. People talk about that too.
Is that like a local thing?
That's a legit thing, man.
Nerve pills?
No, yeah. People talk about it that way. The formal term would be anti-anxiety agents, namely benzodiazepines. We have Klonopin, we have Xanax, we have Valiums, we have medications that you can actually get on the street, unfortunately. But nerve pills, yeah.
Nerve pills.
Anti-anxiety agents. I actually had a college professor told me that she tried it one time. Xanax has been out for a while. It is seriously a benzodiazepine. It is legitimately, by the way, treated, prescribed and treats anxiety. Dude, she said it turned her like ice in her vein.
Really?
Smooth.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it can be abused. I mean, these are types of medications that are dangerous. But yeah, she was like, yeah, it was good.
Are those drugs addictive like opioids?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is like opioids. And that's why you go prescribe with them and make sure you're using them appropriately, because appropriately used, like opioids, they're in fact sort of even less so serious than opioids. I mean, opioids are pretty addictive.
You can take opioids as prescribed and get hooked, right? I mean, didn't Dr. Phil say that if you...
Yeah, I guess I'll land on yeah.
You know, if you got your prescription refilled, you were like way getting close to being in the.
Yeah, did you bring that to me? Or did I bring that to you?
I think I sent you that show, and I think you watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a clip.
He was on Joe Rogan.
And that was a big statement. I think that's based on statistics more than anything.
Dr. Phil's pretty cool. I thought he was one of those Jerry Springer type dudes.
Yeah,
But he's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the producers kind of got a hold of that show, I kind of feel like.
Dr. Phil's show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensationalized mental health. That part's kind of really frustrating. But no, he really is. I mean, he's for what it's worth. Not that I watch it very often at all because I go home.
I don't either.
The
I
last
haven't
thing I
watched
want
the
to
show.
see.
Well, just hearing
but his
him,
thoughts and his direction and his process, it is right on.
Yeah, well, hearing him talk on Joe Rogan made me realize he's real deal. He's not Jerry Springer or anything even close to being like that.
No, it is way more legit than that. Got a little, as I said last time. By the way, man, we record 2 in a row, so we just recorded the last show a minute ago, and I'm still having my allergy troubles. Thank you for this. Tea is awesome, man.
It's good, right?
What is this? Tunic tea?
Turmeric.
Turmeric tea.
Yeah.
Never had it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Dude, what has it got in it? Like
turmeric.
Anytime I got questions on it, I come to Craig. He's got my supplements. He's got these ideas. I mean, you're such an awesome resource for that. I didn't even know turmeric was a thing.
Yeah.
Mineral,
it's
herb,
thing.
or
yeah, it's
mineral.
It's an herb or a spice or whatever. Yeah.
Tuber.
It's good for you.
All right, I'm drinking it. It tastes great, and I appreciate it.
Drink up.
It's helping me out tonight. So this is just a little thing I saw in the newspaper. Be honest with you, I think I had it in my thing, and I just kind of found it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to use this one. So it's not going to be in the show notes. Just take my word for it. It's one of these Ask the Doctor, Dear Abby kind of things,
Yeah.
And I'm showing Craig. I got it ripped out of a newspaper, and I found it in my file to use at some point. The title that caught my interest was "Boys' Intense Video Game Interaction Worries Grandparents." So the grandparents wrote in that it's let me see, what did they say? It's ripped, but they said it's a blank nightmare. They didn't have a curse word, Greg. It's a something nightmare trying to something our 2 grandsons away from their online video games when they are visiting. There's always a fight followed by hours of sulking and crankiness. Our son and his wife say it's easier just to let the kids play. Could they be addicted? ? What says you?
Yeah, they could be addicted. It's easier just to let them play.
Yeah, well, that's what the parents say. Hey, let's not bash parent guilt out there, man. It is a fact. It is easier to let them play.
Yeah, it might be easier to let them play, but if you know video games can be addictive, then golly, man. It's easier to let him smoke crack.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Okay, so Craig's one of these people that he's like, oh, we don't want to expose our children to the bad things.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Video games
but I'm not
are bad.
saying
They're from the devil.
I'm not saying
video
that
games
at all.
are going to hurt you and they're going to make
That's
you
not
addicted.
what
I
I
could
said.
go on.
But video games can be addictive, and you should probably monitor their play and make sure that they're not falling into that trap, man.
I don't know why I'm
Say,
squirreling.
it's easier to let them go.
I don't know why I'm squirrely tonight, but that was fun. No, in all seriousness, obviously, yeah, we did a show on it with Dr. Weigel. Is that right?
Yep.
And we talked intently about that. Now, I thought that this response that she had in here was really pretty spot on, and I'm not going to read it all, but a couple of excerpts from that. She says, when it comes to the question of addiction, no less an authority than the World Health Organization has recently added gaming disorder as a new mental health condition to the 11th edition of the International Classification of Diseases, or ICD. However, the bar for someone to earn this new and somewhat controversial diagnosis is quite high. And she goes on to describe what it is that needs to take place in order to kind of really get this diagnosis. And I think we talked about it on our show, more than once adequately to kind of demonstrate these grandkids probably aren't addicted to their game. It's so much more than what is very typical with kids. I mean, almost all kids are playing and doing this stuff and have their social media. It is not likely that they have addiction to it. the standard is way higher. So she says later on in here, with that definition in mind, the things you look for addiction, it is unlikely your grandkids qualify as addicted. But that doesn't make the situation you describe any less challenging. So trying to get the boys off, trying to get the little girls away from their phone is how hard?
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard.
Right?
You know?
It is something that needs to be done. I mean, don't be afraid to do that, I would maintain.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't mean they're addicted.
Right.
Lastly, she says, actually, on the plus side, immersive games can expand the imagination, foster collaboration, and sharpen cognitive skills. So her responses were really, I mean, pretty cool. I mean, they were really pretty online. I don't know who does this. Her responses, their responses. Who is that? Dr. Eve Glazier is an internist and associate professor of medicine at UCLA Health. Dr. Elizabeth Coe is an internist and assistant professor of medicine at UCLA Health. So send her questions to askthedoctor at mednet.ucla.edu. Well, that's why they were spot on. I honestly didn't realize that till I just checked that out here, but I was kind of impressed and happy with their answers. So, Craig, you ever have a nervous breakdown, brother?
I don't think so, man.
You sure you ain't broke down?
Pretty positive.
Broke down in your car before?
I haven't had a breakdown in my car.
So you
my
never
car's
broke down
broken
in your
down,
head?
but not me. I haven't broken down in my car.
Oh, really?
Well, my
never
car
broke-
has broken down, but
Oh.
I've never broken down in my car.
Gotcha. Took
Yeah.
me a minute, sorry. It's getting late, man.
Yeah.
So what do you think is a nervous breakdown, man? I think that is a term, as you see by the title of this show, guys and gals out there. We want to blow it up. I don't want to see this as a term, and we'll get into as to why that is the case in a little bit today. Please stay tuned, because I think it's a serious, to be honest with you, it's a more serious kind of misrepresentation than I kind of even thought before I did the show prep for this. As I really got to be thoughtful about this, I never really totally cared too much about this, but I kind of do a little bit more now. As of like, a couple few days ago when I did all this, I'm like, wait a minute, this really does a disservice to people. This really has potential of creating problems for people, or at best, it very much creates a situation where you miss the opportunity to really deal with something that could be more of a chronic condition or circumstance in your life. And that is a disservice. And so we want to blow it up, man.
Well, let's do it. I've heard that, like I say, I've heard that term for a long time. Never really thought about what it was.
Yep. So you have any cold thoughts about it?
No, I'm just interested to hear more about what you have to say about it.
Well, it's interesting because I wish last show our awesome Miss DW. Hello, DW. She rocks the house at Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates with us. When I went to ask if she'd be willing to chat with us about managed care last week, she kind of went into her descriptions of what she kind of thought how a nervous breakdown comes down and whatnot, and I thought, man, this is going to be really cool to see Craig's thoughts, from just your raw view and her raw view, to see what are people really thinking a nervous breakdown is, because I feel like I know what people mean, but honestly, I don't think people mean what I think they mean when they start saying this. I think they
what do you mean?
Well, we're getting there and building up, man. Building up. Try to butter you up to say what you think you mean. Because I think there are a lot of people that don't really have an understanding or have a lot of really weird thoughts about this. And honestly, I don't know if that's a correct statement or not. It's kind of my guess.
I guess I would think that a nervous breakdown, man, is you just get so overwhelmed by whatever it is that you can't function. You just overwhelmed to the point of not being able to do anything,
Like cook?
Like anything.
Yeah.
Just so overwhelmed with anxiety. Maybe you curl up in the fetal position
I mean, that's pretty bad.
and start sucking your thumb and,
Oh, dear.
I don't know. But, that's kind of what I guess comes to mind. And I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying that.
Yeah.
Anybody who's had a real nervous breakdown.
Well, that's, I think, my point. I don't know what that is. It doesn't exist. It is not a medical term that we use, and I don't know what people are really describing when they are saying this.
Well, I thought maybe nervous breakdown was a slang for a real term, but you're saying it's not.
It probably, well, I think it used to be used kind of, back in the day. I can tell you it is not a real medical term now. I think it's a cool fact that it has broken into our society's vernacular, being a part of the psychobabble stuff that people talk about now. I say psychobabble because it's really funny and cool to me that people kind of, we talk about these things, which is fantastic. I mean, that is a good thing. But I think people sometimes say they're having a nervous breakdown when they're a little bit stressed out by a tough day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember hearing the term more when I was younger. When I was around my family and like my grandmother and her sisters, my great aunts. Oh, so and so had a nervous breakdown,
Yeah.
Like, really? What's a nervous breakdown mean?
And you start imagining one flew over the cuckoo's nest, or somebody in white coats coming to get them, take them away.
Yeah, maybe so. Took them to Broughton.
It kind of sounds scary.
It does sound scary.
When I think some people are kind of talking about it where they just really just want to have a day where they get home and they watch the Penguins. That's a hockey team.
That's not a nervous breakdown, man.
I think some people refer to breaking down as, oh my God, I'm breaking down. I would agree with you. But what is it? The healthline.com, which I think is a cool thing.
There's a website on it.
Yeah.
Healthline.
Yeah. They identify it as, a nervous or mental breakdown being a term to describe a period of intense mental distress. During this period, you're unable to function in your everyday life.
Yeah, okay, so that's kind of what I said. Yeah. I was kind of on target there.
Yeah. It was once used really to describe, but unfortunately, a kind of a wide variety of mental illnesses, right? And a nervous breakdown, sometimes, the nervous term, indicates anxiety, but sometimes people really refer to this as, depressed. When they're isolating, they're broken down, they're not their normal selves, things that are interesting aren't interesting, they don't have motivation, they're not sleeping, or they're sleeping a tremendous amount, tearful, and they're sad. Their muscles actually ache, as we know of, where somebody's just laying out of life because they're morbidly and disastrously depressed. It has nothing to do with feeling overwhelmed and anxious.
Well, as I read that term there, as I read number 2, that's kind of what I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slang term for a real deal, right?
Right. But they pointed out in this article, number 3 there, what others see as a mental breakdown, quote unquote, can really also be an undiagnosed mental illness. And I write out there, my concern is that one of our field's diagnostics, when we're getting specific and dealing with this, that leaves out so many potentially important things like PTSD or domestic violence, specific anxiety disorders, namely panic disorder, which is the thing with panic attacks, daily stress with borderline personality disorder, grief experiences, or separation and divorce issues. So many other things can be going on is my main thing here. It's not just depressed and anxiety-ridden folks that are having quote-unquote breakdowns and not able to function.
Yeah. But I think that goes back to the thing I was saying. It's a slang term that could be a lot of these things, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to say, "Oh, Craig had a nervous breakdown." Craig's got PTSD, or he's suffered from domestic violence or anxiety disorder.
Yeah. I think maybe it occurs to me hearing you say that, when you hear somebody explain somebody's situation as they had a nervous breakdown, a buddy of ours or something, I think I want people to have that as a buzz phrase in their mind to say, oh, okay, what you're saying is something's going on, and here's the key. And we need to find out.
Yeah.
We need to find out what's going on.
You need to pin it down so you can figure it out.
Because that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just leave them alone or whatever. That's like, a quote unquote cry for help, or a big indicator of like, hey, Johnny or Sally, they got something going on and we need to know what.
Yeah.
Don't stop there.
Right.
That's probably a sort of an unintended main gem. Well, I think that's actually later on, but I think that is why maybe primarily right there why I want to blow up the term. Mic drop. Boom. Does that work?
Yeah.
How do you do a mic drop? Can we get this thing?
I don't know. I've never done a mic drop on a podcast.
Right? Oh, boy, my voice is going, man. You might have to carry us pretty good.
Read the rest of the notes.
just don't use monotone.
We'll be done in 5 minutes, folks.
Let me see. So that's kind of what it is. That's what we're talking about, and to a large extent, the what of the matter. Why do we really want to know what's going on? I think I want to spend a little bit of time here on, kind of what I was saying. This needs to be an indicator of finding out what's going on, right? And part of the reason why I want to blow it up is because if you stop there, if you simply get through a tough time that's causing you to feel worked up and keyed up and stressed the hell completely out, and you just get through that tough time and the nervous breakdown period sort of ends, well, that really leads to me in a missed opportunity to address one of the more chronic conditions. And I've listed several things that kind of go on. As we go down and talk about these different things, realize that this might be kind of what's happening for you. And, oh my goodness, if you just wait until you're not so stressed out in a few days, that's still going on. These things, all that we're going to talk about here, are still going on. So a nervous breakdown management of just watching a football game, chilling out, or going to go hang out and knit with your sweet friends, as your relaxing time, and feeling better, that's not going to get likely addressed what really needs to be addressed. Does that make sense? I mean, am I making that, like, I want to...
Yeah. You're just sticking it out. You're not dealing with the issue.
Right.
But I think what you're saying is you need to deal with the underlying problem, right?
As you like to say, get after it.
That's right.
Really, you want to get after it emotionally to manage these things. So what are these things? Well, let's just... I brainstormed through, some examples. We'll go through a few of these and then probably get to our break here. But, one of these things that I thought of that I don't think we've talked about menopause on this show yet, have we?
No.
Not even at all?
No.
I don't know how that's happened. Because I have really... I want to spend a minute on this then, because I feel like this is a completely unaddressed area of life and is a big factor, dude, in the mental health field that people absolutely have no idea. And I want to tell you, sort of a little bit of a case study as to why and how I really kind of came across this. And it's going to blow your mind, I think, Craig. It's going to blow your mind a little bit. I don't know if I've told you about this in private or not. Maybe we have talked about it, but I had this lady come, okay, and I'm really careful. I'm not breaking confidence. So it was from a company, and she worked in a smaller office, and she was referred for reasons of just asking weird questions and being kind of uncomfortable with people, and these people cared about her, and they wanted her kind of get help and get checked out, because they're like, what's going on with you? And she was asking them questions like, why are people upset or worried about me? Why are they watching me? She's like, people asking questions like, why are people talking about me at lunch? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And everyone, of course, they're like, dude, we ain't talking. I don't know what you're talking about. So she comes into me and she starts talking, Craig. And I get her rapport and I get her trust. And she begins to really describe a whole lot more than just that, because that's a little bit paranoid. Well, she began to kind of share where she was absolutely full-blown psychotic. Okay? Psychosis. Delusionally psychotic. Believing that people knew what she was going to eat for lunch before that she even told anybody what she was going to eat for lunch. Walking into random public places and thinking people were talking about her. Had a internet search engine claiming that she had HIV when she didn't have HIV. I'm talking about she was not just asking weird questions about her colleagues. She was having delusional psychosis experience. Right?
Okay.
So part of what I enjoy about my job passionately is helping to figure out the puzzle pieces. Like, what's going on? Dude, I ruled everything out I could think of. And I was really, I wanted to help this girl, this woman out. And I ruled out, psychosis of schizophrenia, psychosis of a brief psychotic disorder. I ruled out, any experience with depression where you can have psychotic features with depression. I ruled out bipolar disorder where you manic states you can get, psychotic from. I ruled out trauma experiences. I mean, I'm racking my brain because PTSD and, dissociative identity disorder even, I'm racking my brain of everything I could think of. Like, what is going to create this delusional psychosis that this person is struggling hard with? And I'm not finding anything. And Craig, furthermore, the only thing I was really finding is that she had a little bit of an experience of anxiety. Okay? And that was new in the life cycle that she had experienced, and that was about a year prior. Now, she was a little isolative, didn't really reach out and have a lot of friends, but then that was her baseline, so that's fine. But a new experience of anxiety was my first tip of like, well, okay, why? Well, hold the phone here. Why are we suddenly getting anxious a year ago? And then have that build up to the point that she's delusional. And I don't know exactly what led me to wonder about it, but I just did a little Google search, Craig. And I said, can you become psychotic from menopause? You know what the Google said?
I think it's going to say yes, right?
Yeah. To which began to infuriate me because women are going through this. And there are stories of people being admitted into psych hospitals given Haldol psychotropic medications to handle their psychosis, and really what it is their body's going through the change. I thought, oh my gosh, you kidding me? Women go through this? This is a thing? Craig, you know what happened? I think I identified it with her, and we looked at it closely in detail, and I Google searched symptoms list of menopause, and she's like, oh, yep. There's like a symptom list of like 50, 70 strong.
Did not know that.
There's a lot going on with the changes.
You hadn't studied that topic recently.
Right? There's a lot going on with those changes. And, hair loss and coordination issues and, taste buds, change and move around. You're obviously irritable. Later on in the process throughout this thing, you get, the hot flashes and everything. But there's like a list of 50, 60 things that people are looking at. And we identified it with her. And you know what happened? We talked about it. We identified it, and it gave her a safe and comfortable place to simply understand that, oh, her body's changing. And Craig, I'm not kidding you, about 3-4 weeks later, her delusions were gone. Absolutely gone.
Just from talking about it? No.
Gone.
Wow.
And she would tell me, she was like, I don't know how I believed those delusions, those things that I was believing, man. I don't know how that happened. I was just amazed with this. Now, that's a rather dramatic sort of turnaround. It isn't always that bad, but, getting back to the idea of having a nervous breakdown where your emotions become different, to say the least, when you're going through adolescence, or in this case, sort of reverse adolescence. And if you're not identifying this process that your body's going through, and you say it's a nervous breakdown, and a week or two later, you're kind of back to quote unquote normal. Dude, she could have remained psychotic for a very, very long time.
So do you think just talking about it?
In her case, yeah.
Solved the problem?
In her case, yeah.
Wow.
That's why I was so, that's where I started to really clue in to this in my practice with women. We probably need to do a whole show on that one seriously. I'm kind of surprised we haven't talked about it much yet. But that's a key thing in women's health. And I'll remind you, when we're talking about this topic, I think we know very little about it. How many hormones do you remember we have in our body?
No, a lot, right?
Hundreds.
100, yeah.
How many subsets of each individual hormone?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
So we literally have hundreds of subsets of hundreds of different hormones in our body, and we're trying to figure out how that's going to affect us.
Yeah, that's a complex equation, isn't it?
Dude, that way outdoes E.
Hundreds of hundreds.
That does way more than E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
Like literally. Like literally. As a matter of fact, my good guy. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Not the science guy. Star Talk. DeGrasse. Neil deGrasse.
Oh yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He was asked that question. I think I said this on the show before, but I've been fascinated with neurology. Just like he said, he thinks that's the biggest scientific question of today's time: neurology and what's happening with neurotransmitters and hormones in our body. Like it's utterly fascinating.
Mm.
If I was a younger and smarter man, I'd go to med school and figure out neurochemistry, man.
Still can, dude.
Nope. Don't want to do that.
Why not? You should go. You should go for it.
Go get a doctorate degree in med school. No, I'll encourage you.
Definitely not me.
How about we take a break for the midpoint? Greg, what do we want to highlight on the website?
We can highlight whole family products, man. 126 different high-quality health supplements, including a menopause product, MenoBalance.
Yeah, and Andropause.
That MenoBalance was one of my best sellers, my best seller on Amazon when I was running an Amazon business. No doubt.
Yep.
Great products. High quality. Go to our website, throughatherapisteyes.com. Click on the link. There's I say link, but there's an image that will link to their website. And if you do that and purchase, then you'll be supporting Through a Therapist's Eyes.
And also, we have a life coaching person in Craig Graves. Contact us at Contact Through a Therapist's Eyes, and that'll be more information coming in the future. And then potential book sales of Through a Therapist's Eyes. You Can Be Emotional and Remain Safe, book 1, The Self. Check those out. We'll get buttons on the website for those as well. Get back to the show, man. You agreeable?
Yes.
All right, so we're looking for different things, about getting through a tough time is not enough and hitting a nervous breakdown. Let's look at divorce, right? Leads to recovery, which often leads to a second marriage, and then the same thing all over again. Do we want to get into that kind of a cycle?
No.
So if you're having a nervous breakdown and you're stressed the heck out because your partner's left you and whatnot, I mean, dude, we want to dig in and kind of figure out, like, what are the patterns here? What are the marital issues? What are your behavioral patterns? What are your complications? What is your experience? What do you need to really have different in your life? If you just get over a nervous breakdown and let things feel better, then the numbers and statistics do not support you well in a second marriage. Right?
Yeah, the second marriages are more prone to divorce than first marriages, right?
Way, right?
Yeah,
way. I think, as a matter of fact, I think we were talking about marriage, and you kind of made a comment at some point. What you do is, you said something about it takes on average some period of time to recover.
I had heard it takes 5 years to recover from divorce.
Unfortunately, oftentimes people wait 5 months, Craig.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
Because I'm done with my nervous breakdown, and I'm feeling better, and I'm going to go ahead and go date again.
Yeah, I see it happening, man. Blows my mind.
Yeah, no. We don't want to treat emotional matters like that. Persistent work stress. I mean, that's a big factor when it comes to, breaking down and feeling like you're so overwhelmed. I mean, dude, it's really stressful. I don't know have you ever had a situation where a boss is really, like a supervisor, or a situation is really getting under your craw?
Man, thank God I've not.
No.
I've been in the professional world for 26 years, and I've always had great bosses. Any of them that are listening, man, I appreciate you guys. Seriously, I've had disagreements with the organizations and not liking the way things have been running, but the guys that have been, that I directly reported to have always been really cool. But on the other hand, some surveys or some polls out there say that up to 85% of people are unhappy with their work.
Yeah.
And you spend a majority of your time at work.
And it can absolutely, if you feel entrapped by it because you need the income, or you don't feel qualified to move, or stuck for some reason, or just afraid to do that, then you're really stuck with a really stressful situation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that will lead to, quote unquote, being overwhelmed and shutting down a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's significant. I've had people come to therapy specifically for that reason. Well, if you don't learn how to manage boundaries, if you don't learn how to, say no and when you mean no, and yes when you mean yes. I mean, that's what we mean by boundary setting. If you don't learn how to manage stress and get a work-family stress-life balance, and you just get over the nervous breakdown component that is relatively short in time frame, then you're going to stay stuck in what does your boy Dan Miller calls just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I say Dan Miller, he was on our show, and he talked about, what is it, 90 minutes or seconds to the work that you love or something? It's a joke. You're supposed to say, no, man. What is it, 40 days of the work that you love? What's his title?
48 days of the work
48.
you love, yeah.
He said on the show, why did he chose 48 the number? Did he say about that?
Well, he said that he would take people through his coaching process.
Oh, and it's the 48.
And then run into them 2 years later, and nothing had changed. So he put a thing on it. And he took 40 days because it's a biblical number.
Ah.
And then he added a few extra days, a few weekends or whatever, and came up with 48. Now that's his thing.
That's cool. Yeah. You get over a nervous breakdown in a heck of a lot quicker time than 48 days.
Yeah.
There's not a processing time to accomplish much.
Right.
Matter of fact, a lot of times people have a nervous breakdown, they go to the emergency room, and the doctor sends them home. Man, it's, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
To deal with these things. Grieving. I think I've talked about, divorce and separation is one of the worst times in people's lives a lot of times. Well, that's because it's beyond just a major grieving experience, but grief is a huge component of that. So if you're just breaking down, quote unquote, because, Uncle Bob died and he was your super close confidant and most ardent supporter of you in your life, and you kind of just deal with that funeral and kind of compartmentalize it and shove it and move along, that's not going to get your emotions done, and you're going to have a lot of leftover turmoil.
Yeah.
A lot of baggage is created.
That's right.
Or even just major life changes can seriously destabilize things for people. I lived in West Virginia all my life. I'm a proud mountaineer. You know that, right?
Yep.
Right? So when I moved out of West Virginia for the first time in my life, I'd been just newly married. I'd graduated. And I lived in West Virginia all my life, and I was going down here in North Carolina. Dude, that was a rough time. Those were major changes all piled in. And I don't know if you want to call it a nervous breakdown, but I remember very clearly, driving home just sort of stressed out in tears. And I was just going to, I forget why. I felt like I needed to go back to West Virginia and just see that the state is still there. And it was very comforting, and I reconnected, and there's a whole psychological thing with disconnecting and then reconnecting and then kind of coming back. But that was a breakdown time. That was hard. So if you're not dealing with that by taking an action, then you're going to have a hard time. We talked about hormones just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What about postpartum?
Yes. Yes.
These are random things that I was thinking about, in thinking about if people are just breaking down, you're not identifying this thing. There are a lot of people that have babies and they're stuck in closets, terribly upset, or, literally, seriously, just like bugging out and leaving town and breaking down, so to speak. What a more dramatic way to break down than freaking leave town, right?
That's exactly right.
And that happens. And so you've got to realize that it's not a nervous breakdown. We want to identify there is a specific biological process going on in your body after you're delivering a baby sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've seen ladies who've suffered with that. It's the real deal.
It's absolutely scary. And don't be scared, those that haven't had a baby. A lot of times you don't get any of that. A lot of times it's just fine. But if you find and you're breaking down and you hear somebody saying, oh my God, how's Sally? She just had a baby. I heard she had a nervous breakdown. No, stop. What do we want to do? Go find out what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we need to identify that.
Right.
We don't want to leave them alone that way. Following up with that, I said becoming a new parent. Remember when those little munchkins, Craig, were really running around the house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember.
I will never forget, man. We could have had, we didn't, but we could have had a nervous breakdown, man. That was a crazy moment.
Man, I'm telling you, having a 16-year-old and 11-year-old might make you have a nervous breakdown.
Holy crap! Yeah, well, yeah. That's
a
too
new
close.
parent.
That's too close, man.
Just being a parent in general, dude.
Too hot for me right now, man. Changing topics. When I was, my wife and I, did the whole pregnancy thing. She did all the work, and I had the way easy part. Man, that's a crazy thing to be pregnant and do all that. Men do not know how easy we get it, I think. But we left the hospital, and I'll never forget driving with my left hand up on the steering wheel, and my right hand was like literally back holding the baby, car seat, and like just, I don't know what I was trying to do, but I was just going to make sure I held that seat right all the way home. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we get home and we open up the door. I don't know who was carrying Aaron, and I'll just never forget. We like walked in the living room and we sat the little thing down. My God, Aaron was just sat down on the couch, and we literally took like 2 or 3 steps back in tandem. And we just stared. It was probably like, 33 seconds, Craig, but I swear it felt like 4 or 5 minutes. We just stood there and stared like, what do we do now? No idea what to do now. Very, very intense for us. So becoming a new parent, I mean, if you end up having a breakdown, dudes can too. This is not a woman thing. Dudes can break down. You got to be able to talk about how you're going to cope with that and stuff. In the elderly, oh, Aunt Sally, she's breakdown. She had a nervous breakdown. I don't know what happened to her. Well, you know what might have happened, Craig? She might have had a urinary tract infection or a medical condition like that. Do you know how dangerous that is in elderly population?
No, I had no idea.
That will absolutely make somebody psychotic crazy too. They begin to really, excuse me, sorry. They begin to really, appear dementia-ridden, or their mental status goes, like I'm talking about, in a drop of a dime, go away.
That's bizarre. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a thing, and I actually didn't know that either until a colleague kind of helped me understand that probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Good guy named Russell. How you doing, Russell? I have not talked to him in a while. I think he likes podcasts. He might listen to us. If you're down there in the eastern part of the state, man, drop us a line. I wonder how he's doing. But he did. He taught me about urinary tract infections in elderly. Now, if you're breaking down and you have a medical condition like that, you better figure out that that's there and get that treated, because that can be actually terminal, I believe.
Wow. I had no idea.
Very dangerous for elderly people.
That's crazy.
How about sleep?
Definitely.
Somebody having a nervous breakdown.
Lack of sleep can do it. You start hallucinating and all kinds of stuff, man. Lack of sleep is painful. I mean, you physically hurt. Your body can physically hurt over that.
Right.
Yeah. You string 2 or 3 of those things together, man. Whew.
Oh, you are not going to be well. So, I mean, you've really got to understand, getting at the core of what is happening that you're not sleeping. Mm-hmm. What is going on? I mean, that might be a medical thing. It might be an emotional thing. It might be a chronic condition is the thing. How about serious financial things,
Yeah, I was hoping you had that on the list.
Yeah.
That could definitely be one, man. People feel hopeless and helpless with their money.
Yeah. I mean, you get into a situation, it might be gambling addiction or spending addictions, but
or just life in general.
Absolutely.
Just bills and, and credit cards and debt, and it can be miserable.
You have a tendency not to even look at your bank statements or whatever, and you kind of pull it out one day and you literally kind of get cold cocked in the head.
Yeah.
With a financial bill, and you're like, whoa.
That's right. That's exactly right. I teach that Dave Ramsey class, man. It helps people out.
It's a good class. I'm sure you do an excellent job with it. Keep doing that, man, because that's good work that you do. Codependency patterns, we had a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Well, you get codependent with a relationship that's draining you intently with your emotions, and you do that long enough, you have a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the codependency identified and managed, and guess what you're going to keep on doing? So part of this whole thing is just sort of brainstorming through, like, wow, man, I mean, there are all these things going on for people that I don't think they have any idea about because it's just a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more going on there.
And we need to know. We need to figure those things out. It's not enough to stick with just a simple old, now not even thought of as medical term and just call it that. That ain't that. We did a show that probably just, pops in my mind here that's important talking about it. Why do we need a diagnosis? Well, I didn't say it on the show there.
We did a show on that.
We did, but I didn't say this on the show there. And what I'm thinking right now is part of the answer to the question, why do we need a diagnosis, is so we don't misunderstand something being a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
We need a diagnosis so that we know what we're dealing with.
Well, you said there is no nervous breakdown, right? It's always some underlying something.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want to know what the something underlying something is.
Right, yeah, I'm all about getting to the root cause.
Exactly.
I'm all about that.
Exactly. So I don't know how much time we got left and what we're thinking, but what are you thinking? Kind of put this in your kind of context, Craig, if you would. People are having all kinds of these things and other things. What are you going to maybe track on the next days and weeks with your thoughts when you hear someone talking about a nervous breakdown? What's your brain going to do?
Well, if I heard somebody say that now, I'd probably ask, well, what's really going on there? Why do they have a nervous breakdown? Oh, their finances are all screwed up, or oh, they got a crap boss at work and they're stressed out about work, or whatever.
Right.
They're having panic attacks and they just, can't handle it.
Or, yeah.
So there's got to be some kind of something, right?
How do you think you would have handled it before? I mean, oh man, Matt, I
probably wouldn't have given it much thought.
Really?
Maybe there's, I don't think I would have thought about an underlying issue because I didn't really know what a nervous breakdown was, Maybe I said, what do you mean by that? What is a nervous breakdown?
Yeah.
How do you define that? I haven't heard the term in a long time. Like I said, it's mostly when I was a kid. I don't know if it's decreased, but I was just around those, my grandmother and her sisters, old ladies, gossiping around the house. But I just haven't heard that term lately. I've heard the term nerve pills recently.
Yeah, nerve pills I hear all the time. Still, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think I hear people, in my personal circles having said, that. But I'm wondering if it has kind of decreased. It's interesting. I hope it has, because I do. Part of the premise here is I think it's a little incomplete.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you got to get to the bottom of it.
And I think prior, you would have heard somebody say that, Craig, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the conversation probably, would go on to like what happened that night. What, did the police come? And you're going to tell the story of the police coming. Did they go to the emergency room? I mean, did they throw some scissors at their spouse? I mean, what's the story here? Oh my God, Bob had a nervous breakdown and he ... Right?
Yeah.
And that's where the conversation's going to go.
Yeah, right.
Now I'm hoping, and that's awesome as you just said that, now I'm hoping that conversation gets followed by more questions. A little bit more information and whatnot. All right. Roman numeral 3, Craig. The idea of where do we go from here? So we got kind of the what of the matter, we got the why of the matter a little bit. Oh my gosh, what do we got to do? What's the response to a tough time in life instead of just move on to the conversation?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? You got to get some help, dude.
Get help. Yeah. Find the main cause of the events and the potential more chronic conditions. I mean, if we're not digging there, man, that's I hope I've made the point in talking about some of these specific things, and by all means that is not a complete list what we just went through and talked about, but I hope we made the point, man. I mean, it's dangerous to leave it unaddressed.
Right, you're right.
Any one of those things, we spent time on that. Man.
If it's depression or something like that, those are serious things, and
they
definitely need
addressing. Honestly, a nervous breakdown with what people tend to mean with that. Can we say, Craig, that is an indicator that underlying thing that is there, by the way, is grown to a point where it's an alarm?
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that a nervous breakdown is an alarm?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
And that honestly just comes by talking about it right now. That's a new thought. I've never thought that before. Never thought that before. But I think that's a true statement to say that there is a high likelihood, not a chance, not a small, but a high likelihood, if not kind of a fact, that if you have a nervous breakdown, there's another thing going on, because that other thing that's going on has gotten to a higher level of concern and is an alarm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a neat thought, if I don't say so myself. I hope I remember that one. You think I should write this stuff down sometimes, right?
Yeah. Book 2, man.
It is. It'll be in there. Okay. What do we do, man? Besides getting help, I just wrote good old stress management and anxiety management. I mean, we've done shows on how to manage this stuff. I mean, which one do you want to do? Breathing, yoga,
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, lots of them.
Talk to friends. I mean, there is a laundry list of things really in managing emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do it.
Yeah, we got to take action, right?
Take action. We need to, we really need to take actions. Yeah. Can't just let it sit. But I thought this is a big one in so far as don't be alone. I mean, some of my comments here have been rattling off thoughts and whatnot, Craig, about when you're observing somebody with a nervous breakdown, and and how to ask questions and get at the heart of the matter. Well, to the person who is actually having a nervous breakdown, you probably have had several minor breakdowns, to use another term, before you had your major nervous breakdown to where you couldn't hide it from other people. Right? So if you're having minor nervous breakdowns in your own thoughtfulness of yourself and nobody knows it, dude, do not wait until you have a major nervous breakdown.
So what are some minor nervous breakdowns?
I know, right?
Man? Yeah. So I guess
same thing, just
I mean, that comes to something like drinking. I just need to get drunk. I just need to sit on the couch and eat ice cream and binge Netflix.
Yeah, I think what I mean.
Maybe that's one too.
I think what I mean by that is something more than like a sleepless night. You don't need to go running out there, but when you start having disruption where you're feeling overwhelmed and like I can't function very well, and it's a minor breakdown, sort of. If you even think that about yourself, I think that's a minor indicator of like, yo, something's up.
Yeah.
Let's pay attention.
Right.
Because that's not just a sleepless night.
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to have a sleepless night and wake up and say, oh my God, I had a nervous breakdown last night. Guess what? Right?
Yeah.
But if you ever thought, man, I am breaking down. Like, I'm breaking down. This is not good.
Yeah.
If that thought occurs to you, I'm calling that a minor nervous breakdown, and go tell somebody what's up. That's the deal there. So don't be alone. Don't be alone. Listen, check medications. I mean, these are some of the things that are like, not the obvious of, emotion management skills, but medications are really, really important, and particularly the older that you get.
Mm-hmm.
People will put combinations of stuff out there. I mean, I know of a friend of mine who has an elderly mom, and they're kind of watching him closely and whatever. Man, she decompensated something horrible, Craig. And he went over to her house, and when she was in the hospital, I think, and you know what he found in her medicine cabinet?
What's that?
Half opened and used bottles and squirt cans and creams, and I mean, we're talking about cough syrups and Robitussin and
really?
Health this and health that and aspirin, ibuprofen, supplements, and melatonin. She was just taking like all of these things, man. Blood pressure medications from however long ago, psychotropics, and because she was just taking stuff. That's what you do when you feel bad, right?
Yeah.
Take medicine.
Yeah.
Man, it was almost deadly. It was almost deadly. But if you're elderly person in your life and whatever is having trouble, the point is, let's maybe check medications. Don't be afraid of the hospitalization. Remember episode 57? They're coming to take me away. They're coming to take me away.
Yeah, I remember.
You know? It ain't the nut house, people. It's an inpatient psychiatric hospitalization that is there to help you get stabilized from a really tough time. Go get help if needed, even on that level. Don't be afraid of that. It ain't nothing crazy. It ain't nothing totally bizarre. There ain't no lobotomies going on, right? Man, I know I'm doing a lot of talking this episode, Craig, and my voice is cracking. I'm dying. I'm going to give you monotone read the rest of this. Go ahead, give me a couple.
We're almost to the end. We're almost there. You only got a little bit to go.
I am dying. Actually, I am going to get a little water. Read a couple and see what you think.
Where are we at?
F.
Number F. Be aware of, you've already talked about that one, right? No, you haven't. Be aware of basic medical factors, for instance, the high use of caffeine. Example of my 2 or 3 pots of coffee per day. So you're drinking 2 to 3 coffee pots per day?
No! No, I actually thought about that,
So
man.
that's not you drinking this, somebody else.
That is an example of somebody that was coming to me. They had road rage and they had anger issues and whatever. And I tell you what, I was in therapy with them for probably, I don't know, dude, 4, 5, 6 months. And he come in with one of these big old, those big, I'm talking the big cups. And I'm like, dude, what's in that cup? He's like, oh, it's my coffee. I said, is this your coffee? Oh, yeah. I was like, well, how much do you drink a day? He's like, oh, about 2 or 3 of these. I'm like, in a day?
2 or 3 of those big cups? Holy cow.
Yeah. He was saying it was a pot of coffee, a cup, basically.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
What's the next one there?
Avoid over-medicating, even if a doctor is prescribing them. Be aware. Opioid epidemic. Anyone.
Yeah. Right? I mean, if doctors do prescribe medications, it's appropriate, but man, you got to be really kind of responsible and into yourself. You can take them as prescribed and understand what they're doing.
Do you think doctors should subscribe medications for anxiety and stuff like that? I mean,
oh yeah.
But shouldn't they send them to see you first? I mean,
well, Dr. Danny Morrison was on the show. And honestly, around the world, the first line treatment defense didn't come see me and ain't going to take medications. Go get exercise.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, before you default to medications, which I think my experience is that happens in a doctor's office. They don't talk about breathing and exercise. And
I mean, consider the source. I'm totally going to agree with you. But it sounds self-serving.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, don't over-medicate. Be a good friend. Notice signs of change and struggle. Missing work, changing attitudes, strong irritability, isolating or avoiding you, lack of normal socialization. Person of abnormal age becomes forgetful.
These are things to look for. Something's going on. These things have changed. I mean, something's different about my buddy, and I want to go help her out.
Yeah.
I mean, when somebody's having a hard time, they might not just come out and tell you. And if you got to be able to pay attention and, really kind of help them along the way. I mean,
I agree with that. I like to check on guys that, like, if you have a pattern, right, and then the pattern gets broken.
Yeah.
Like one of my buddies, for example, he's a listener probably, but anyway, he trains jiu-jitsu with me. Mm-hmm. I hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks, man. So last night I'm like giving him a text, hey buddy, where you at, man?
Yep.
He's just been sick and stuff like that. He'll be back next week, but if you notice something funny, just reach out.
Craig's a good dude. I think you've done that with me, too.
Maybe so, man.
Yeah,
I think the first example that came to mind, but anyway.
De-stress, get back from some responsibility, sit back. Not isolating, I'm not talking about, but de-stress. Sit back, man. Just decrease some of your responsibilities. Go get active. Again, use the energy that you have. I recently heard the term rage cleaning. You ever hear that term?
I haven't heard that term.
Rage cleaning.
Rage. I'm not going to rage clean.
I thought that was fantastic.
Golly, I dread that anyway.
Well, I mean, but their friend just gets into frustration and turmoil and isn't sleeping, and they wake up and they just, I thought that was a cool term, man. Rage clean. Go spend your energy on something that's helpful. Kind of the point there. Super basics, cornerstone of mental health. Episode number 1 itself, self-care. You know, you got to do those fun, relaxing, enjoyable activities. They're not self-destructive in any way, and they're not work-related tasks. So self-care is the cornerstone of mental health, man, and that's one of the things we really want to do. And finally, avoid using... Well, my dear friend Julie, I first heard years ago, says, I'm going to use my negative coping mechanisms this weekend. I always quote her on that. She's probably mad at me. I don't know, but I think it was cool when I first heard it. Still is cool, man. Avoid them there negative coping mechanisms. Not helpful. Not helpful when you're in a really crazy and stressful, tough life circumstance. So take us on out of here, Craig, with your thoughts, and let's summarize and get out of here for tonight.
I don't know if I have much more to add as far as thoughts go. You know, I think I learned quite a bit tonight. You know, nervous breakdowns, and they're probably real things, but there's something under there. There's some reason why there's something going on. It's not a nervous breakdown. It's it's a plethora of potential issues that could be.
Ooh, good word.
That could be driving it. You know, so if you're having a nervous breakdown, lay off the nerve pills and figure it out. Get some help.
I didn't plan it, but literally talking through it as we did tonight occurred to me that it is probably a really good alarm.
Yeah.
It's an alarm that something is going on.
Something's going on.
And we need an answer as to why that happened. And if you do not have an answer, you've got a problem.
Yeah, and pay attention to those little rocks, man. If you're drinking too much or, laying out of work every, here
Little rocks, is that what you said?
Yeah, the little ones instead of the big ones.
Oh, got you.
Before they become big, if I'm drowning my sorrows at the bar every night, it's a sign something's going on, and it might get even worse than that.
There's a boulder growing.
That's right.
There's a boulder
snowball is growing. It's a snowball rolling downhill, man.
We don't want that. We do not want that, because when you do have something like this going on, man, it is scary.
That's right.
It's a trip to the emergency room or something, and we don't want any of that. Take us out of here, man, and goodness gracious. I don't know where we're going next.
Through at therapisteyes.com, we have individual entries for each show. Should have some show notes for each show, hopefully. You can listen right there on the website, or you can subscribe on just about any podcast platform. Subscribe, leave us a 5-star if you would. Help us get the word out. Tell your friends about us. Facebook and Instagram links are also on that site. We'd love to have you follow us and get the word out, man, about mental health issues.
Thank you, good buddy.
Enjoyed it.